Good morning. Welcome to Morning Moments. Thank you for tuning in today, wherever you're tuning in from, Facebook, YouTube, Abundant TV, or whatever venue. I'm so glad you took the time to join us today. And today you're in for a treat. We have an award-winning singer, songwriter, and I am just so privileged to be able to have her on my show. Tonja Rose, welcome to Morning Moments.
Well, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great.
I need to take that introduction around with me everywhere I go. How sweet was that?
Well, I'm so glad you joined me. Tell us where you're going to tell us where you're at, but also tell us what do you do and why do you do it?
Okay. Well, I reside in Nashville, Tennessee with my husband, and right now I'm visiting North Carolina because that's where all of our family is. So I'm down here in, Carolina Blue country and enjoying every minute of it. I am first and foremost, I am a minister of music for Jesus Christ. Second of all, I am a gospel artist. And I say it that way because, in the big scheme of things, what I am first is what matters. I just happen to be able to sing and write a little bit and have the opportunity to share it with others wherever they'll let me. Um, and The reason I do it, I've had several reasons throughout my lifetime why I do what I do, but now I just do it because it's important that people know about Jesus, and I'm not a speaker. All I really know how to do is sing, and I think music is the universal language of love and of God, and that's how God uses me and my testimony to reach others. So that's why I do it.
You have a history. I was reading on your website. You have a history of music in your family, and you started out pretty young.
I
If I
did.
and So tell me a little bit about how you got involved in this, and also about your singing and all.
Okay. Well, I started, my dad had a gospel group here in Eastern North Carolina. It was called the Coachman Quartet, and you can interview any gospel artist out there, and they started when they were 3 or 4 years old, just like me. So I'm not any different than anybody else. But, I got to sing with my dad, and my mom, and I don't remember this, honestly. They tell me this. I couldn't really talk plain because I was only 3, but I could sing every word to Jesus on the main line. And so I did. My dad would take me wherever on the Silver Eagle and with his group, and we would sing. I'd sing any chance I got. And, you know, I, I grew up in my hometown singing at all the competitions and all of the church homecomings and family reunions and all that stuff. And as kids do, I grew up kind of kind of pulled away from that. Never pulled away from God, but kind of pulled away from
Sure.
the gospel music because I was a teenager. I wanted, to listen to the pop music and all that kind of stuff. And um, uh, grew up, got married, moved to Virginia, Hampton, Virginia, with my husband.
We're in Virginia Beach, so
I
we're
know. I lived in
yes,
Virginia for 10 years. Let me
yes.
tell you. We started attending a church there, Northampton Church of Christ, and in Hampton. And I would do a special here or there at church. I never had any inkling of going into any kind of music business. I just like to sing. That's all I'd ever done. It's the only thing I knew how to do without thinking. And I'm not saying that to brag at all. That's what I knew. And people there at church were like, "You should go into country music. You sound like a country. You sound better than those people on the radio, and blah blah blah, and all that kind of stuff." So fast forward a little bit. Excuse me. My husband and I, we packed everything up, and our son packed everything up and moved to Nashville, Tennessee, to pursue a country music deal. And you know, it took me 10 years to get past being scared to death of everything out there. And I people wanted me to write. I didn't write. I came to sing. I don't write songs. I sing songs. How about you write me a good song and then I'll sing it? But everybody's like, no, you need to write. You need to write. You need to write. In 2009, after being there for 10 years, almost 10 years, I got my first publishing deal and record deal. And for those that might not know what a publishing deal is, it's where I got paid a monthly stipend to sit in a room and make stuff up and put it to music. And so I got that. I had a song on the country charts. I mean, I was doing really, really good. And I was like, yes, this is what God created me for. This is what He has created me to do. I'm going to be the next big thing. And thank you, Father, for all your blessings and allowing all this to happen. I am on my way. And then in 2010, I lost my record deal and my publishing deal because they closed their doors. And I found myself in a place, Andy, where I was like, I'm a failure. I failed myself. I failed God. And I found myself questioning God, well, why would you bring me this far for it to all go away? And, you get down in the dumps when things don't turn out the way you want to. And my husband and I actually contemplated moving to Florida with his work because I was like, well, I can sing anywhere, it's not a big deal. And then in 2012, I had a friend reach out to me. His name was John Lamonis, and him and his wife, Michaela, came to me and they said, hey, we want to start this little group. And we're probably going to go out like once a weekend and just take some of the hymns. We're going to redo them, maybe, use mandolin and guitar and just change them up a little bit and all this kind of stuff. Would you be interested? And I said, sure, because I ain't got nothing else going on. And so we took this little group that eventually was named Crosby Lane after Fanny Crosby. And what was supposed to be one weekend a month turned into 130 dates a year. And we did that until 2016, when my husband, at 45 years old, on April the 1st, April Fool's Day, by the way, had a stroke. And what I like to tell people is how God worked in all that. So we were scheduled to be on the road April the 1st, 2016. Well, back in November of 2015, God started laying the path for what you said earlier, changed the trajectory of our lives. In November of 2015, that weekend was canceled. So if anybody knows, gospel music, you rebook that because that's your livelihood. That's what you're out there, that's how you make your money. So we rebooked that weekend for a different state. About 3 months before we were scheduled to go out, that particular weekend venue called and said, we're going to have to reschedule. We're going to have to cancel. We're sorry. And so we rebooked that weekend in another state. And about 3 weeks before we were scheduled to leave on April the 1st, that place called and said, we've got to cancel. We can't have you guys this weekend. So we, as Crosby Lane, as a group, were like, well, I guess we're supposed to be home. So, and it's too late to try to book anywhere else, and you're not thinking in the middle of all this kind of stuff, oh, I see what you're doing, God. That's the farthest thing. Well, it was from mine, farthest thing from my mind. But I had 3 opportunities to be out of the state when my husband had his stroke, and God had me right there beside him at home when that happened. He couldn't walk, he couldn't talk. And because I was there and could call for, help, we were able to get him to the hospital in time to take the necessary precautions to keep it from getting worse than it was. So, for after he had his stroke, the next 6 months he couldn't drive, he couldn't work. So I couldn't be out on the road because I had to take care of my husband. And I found myself in that spot again, Andy, where I was like, okay, God, what is going on? Because Crosby Lane had taken off. We had gospel songs with video being played on Great American Country on the country station. It was a song called Crucified. And we're in like the thriving part of what we were doing. And now I found myself at home, not doing any of it. And, again, I was like, I was disappointed myself. I was disappointed that God had allowed this to happen. Again, so close, but I'm not there. Why would you get us to this point, God, and then it all be taken away? And so after the 6 months and my husband could drive and he could travel, I went back out on the road with Crosby Lane till the end of the year. And I said, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I had every faith, all the faith. I think I had all the faith that my husband was going to be okay, but the physical part of me could not climb in that vehicle and leave again. I just had this feeling in my heart and my soul that said, that's not where you belong anymore. So I stepped away from music. Like you, I chose my family over my ministry. And in the meantime, as a writer, I would write about what we went through and all this kind of stuff. And let me tell you, it was one of the hardest decisions I'd ever made, stepping down from Crosby Lane, but I just felt like I needed to be home. And so anyway, I continued to write. I'm a talker, y'all. I'm a talker, so just buckle up. I wrote about our experiences. I wrote a song called When the Mountain Can't Be Moved. When the mountain can't be moved, Lord, give me strength to climb. And the guy that I wrote that with, who happens to be John Mathis, who is he runs Mansion Entertainment, he said, "Can I send this to radio?" And I said, "John, you can do whatever you want to with it, because I don't care what happens. I'm done with music. I'm done with ministry. My husband has supported me for all these years. I'm here for him. I'm going to be a stay-at-home wife. I'm going to be a housewife and all this kind of stuff." He threw it out to radio, and it went to #1 in gospel music, the gospel music charts. It went to #4 in singing news, bluegrass charts. And I tell people all of this to say, it took me a long time to come to this decision, but I was never a failure. God never let me down. I think God gives us seasons of what He had decided was His purpose in our life. For those 10 years, maybe His purpose was for me to be in gospel, country music, so that I could see what I didn't need, what I didn't want, what He didn't want for me. And, maybe that season with Crosby Lane was His purpose in my life during that season, because it allowed me to learn some things that He knew I was going to need later when I went out on my own with my husband to share our ministry. And that's what we do now. We have a ministry, him and I together. I don't climb in a car and go anywhere that he's not with me, because God brought us to the point where it's not about me. It's about, first and foremost, him and what he's done in mine and my husband's life. And that's what we take and share with people. You go through bad times. Are they easy? No. And I can sit here and tell you all day long, oh, it's going to get better because God has a plan. And He does.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make it any easier when you're walking through it. But you can take what you have accumulated during those times, the hurt, the pain, the joy in the small things that you probably wouldn't notice if you weren't walking in the middle of a trial. And you use those to help encourage people and minister to people. And that's where we are now. Do I have songs on the charts? Absolutely. Have I won awards? Absolutely. That's all great. Is my name in magazines? Yes, they're in magazines, in charts, and all this kind of stuff. And that's all great. And it's exciting. And it's kind of like a wink from God that, maybe I'm doing what He's created me to do at this time in my life. And that may change in 5 years. It may change in 5 days. I don't know. But first and foremost, I want people to see my name in that chart, and I want them to go look me up, and then I want them to read my story, and I want them to see what God has done in my life, in my husband's life, in our family's life. And that's kind of my story and testimony in a nutshell. And when I go to churches, I elaborate on it a little bit more. I have more time to explain things and all that kind of stuff. And I have songs that line up with our testimony and stuff like that.
Some of you who are listening to this today just say, I'm in one of those seasons. I've been here, but now I'm here. And God, are you still there? What do you have for me? And in that season that you're in, maybe you're there because you need to have not just surrender, but complete surrender.
Yes.
When surrender is your reasonable service, you can expect great things from God.
Mm-hmm.
And so when that's your culture of surrender, God, I die daily to you. I die daily to you. He will say, now I've got you in the place that I could lift you up again, or lift you. to bring you my purpose and plan. I've been waiting for you
Yeah.
to just say, I'm done, I'm surrendered.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when you do that, some of you are watching this and going, that's me, that's me. And some of you are in the battle of your life right now. But let me tell you, don't curse the battle, because the battle is what brings a defining moment when it becomes a victory.
Yes.
When that victory becomes, you would never have the victory you're about to have unless you had the battle.
Yeah.
You would never have the testimony that you're about to share, like my lovely sister here has shared, unless you had the battle. I've had the battle, I've had the victory. Now I have a defining moment. Now I want to share it with you.
And can I just interject there and
Please
say,
do.
if you don't have the scars to show people where you've been, how are they going to believe?
Absolutely.
You collect those scars. Now, they're not physical always. Some of them are for some folks, but the scars, as ugly as they can be, that's proof to others that you've been where they are and that you came out of it.
Absolutely.
So,
I want you to do something for me, folks. I want you to look up her website. I'm gonna have it down below. You've seen some of her. You're seeing some of her albums and some of the things she's been has done. Down below in the comment section, you may even hear some of her songs that God's blessed her with. Uh, Follow her. Go to if she's in your area, go to a concert where she's at. Listen to her music, buy her product, pass on. If you're a singer, ask her, hey, I want to sing your song. Maybe God is has you here for a reason. Do those things, but more important than that, I want you to take time right now and pray for Tanya, that God would bless her and her and her husband as they minister for the kingdom, and pray that God would bless them. They need your prayers and you need the practice, folks. So go ahead and pray for her. Take the time right now when this interview is over and say, I'm praying for you. Tanya, it has been my privilege to have you on Morning
oh,
Moments.
thank you. Thank you. It's been my privilege to be on here. I appreciate it. And let me just say one more thing, if you don't mind. A lot of churches um, don't reach out to artists because they think, well, we can't afford them. Folks, I don't do this for the money. I mean, the money's nice and it helps me pay my bills, but I don't do this for the money. So if you say, well, she'll never come to my church, we've only got 40 people and, we live off, our church is off a dirt road, call us anyway. Call us anyway, because you can
Oh,
go anywhere and see these big arenas and see artists and stuff, but I like to get down to the nitty gritty and I like to go to those churches and I like to share with people. That's what I grew up in. I grew up in an itty bitty church. So please don't ever be afraid to reach out and call. We always make it work. Always.
oh,
So,
that's God's going to honor that heart. Let me tell you, in the days of people with contracts and obligations before I come, God's going to bless that for you.
well,
I
thank you. I
believe
hope
that.
so. I hope so.
Thank you for joining us for Morning Moments.
Absolutely.
And thank you for listening today. And I'm
Yes.
going to ask you all to keep coming back for some more Morning Moments.